Hello everyone, welcome to my second devlog. In my previous video I showed you the first version of my chatbot project, which was made with the help of Python and tkinter. Since then I have been working hard to make it better. So today I'll be showing you what are the improvements and what are the features I have added to the chatbot project. So yeah, let's dive into it and see what are the changes I have made. So as you can see, this is the first version of the chatbot I made in the last video. So it was a pretty simple and easy to use code with interactive interface with customizable users and bot name. Like if we enter Samir and Jarvis, so yeah, it showed like this, and if I say quit, it would quit itself. And although it was a pretty simple and easy to use design, it had some limitations as well. So it had it had very less predefined responses, and the UI was not polished as well. So in the second version I updated the UI as well as the chatbot's logic, which made it more responsive. And let's so starting off with version 2, the first thing I did was I divided the first version's code into two different halves, which are chatbot's graphical user interface and the chatbot's logic. So speaking of chatbot's logic, the first thing I did was I made a function for get random agent name. In case the user forgets to name their chatbot, the chatbot will select any of these 5 names as their agent name. So moving on, so this is where the users will interact with the chatbot. The first thing I did was I converted all of the user input code into lowercase. If in case a user mixes the lowercase and uppercase, this will convert all the user input into lowercase for better matching. So after the user input is converted into lowercase, I started working on adding information about facilities, college and the courses. So these informations are divided into 3 categories: location, hours, details. So this will help me in organizing the chatbot's queries. For example, if the user asks us about the location, I can just throw in the location. If the user asks the chatbot about the hour, then the chatbot will tell at what hour the library opens and closes. And if the user asks us about the details of the library, then the chatbot can give response specific to the questions or the queries asked by the user. So after working on adding information about various courses, college and the facilities in the college, I started working on pattern recognition system. In pattern recognition system, I added 2 patterns where it detected where and hours. So this might be pretty overwhelming for you guys, but believe me, this is gonna save a lot of coding space. Like you have to write hundreds of lines of if else statement just to get this, and there are a lot of errors that might occur when you write like hundred of lines of code just to get this output, which comes within 2 lines. So after all of this, what if the chatbot didn't understand the user's input? It's gonna do the same thing like what it did in the first version. It's gonna give random outputs, like it's gonna select any of these 5 outputs and throw it to the user. After adding all of those chatbot logic, I started working on writing greetings and asking how you were, and also just to have a bit of feelings, I added some codes. Then I added some self description, like if you ask the robot, how, tell me about yourself, who are you, describe yourself, explain yourself, or introduce yourself. These are the three responses it's gonna give it to you. So talking about how I made the graphical user interface, the first thing I did was import date and time. Then I imported generate response and get random agent name from the chatbot logic. Then I started working on the round frames. The first thing I did was create a round frame class which is responsible for drawing rounded rectangles on the canvas. Then I added a rounded frame entry frame with this is responsible for creating rounded entry fields. So moving on from rounded entry fields to rolled frames, this class is responsible for creating scrollable areas in for so this class is responsible for providing scrollable areas in our chat log. So it combines canvas and a frame along with a vertical scroll bar. The on frame configure uh, method updates the scroll region whenever the inner frame is resized. So moving on, I also added a Modern Chatbot GUI class where we have defined the constraints for the window, where as well as its colors, dimensions, and also have defined some exit phrases which is responsible for exiting the chat. Create style function is responsible for styling our buttons and frames using TTK style. This allows us to maintain a consistent look and feel throughout the application. So after that, talking about create message bubble function, this is responsible for creating a messages bubble for both user and the bot messages. It determines the color bubble color based on the sender and includes a timestamp and a message text. So moving on, in this create widget function we set up the main interface. In this function I added the welcome frame for the initial user interaction, including labels, entry fields for users and chatbot's name. So the start button, where is it, start button, so the start button triggers and handles name submission method. So handle name submission function is responsible for retrieving names entered by the user, hides the welcome frame, and displays the input frame. So moving on, the user input handle user input function is responsible for processing the user input, checking for exit commands, generate responses from the chatbot. If the user types an exit command, the application will gracefully close after displaying a goodbye message. So the exit command function is responsible for checking if the user inputs any predefined exit phrases, ensuring there is a smooth exit from the chat. And finally, the run function starts the main event loop of the application, allowing the GUI to respond to user interactions.